It was a warm summer evening in New York City, the kind of night when the air buzzes with music, laughter, and the unshakable feeling that anything can happen. Sarah walked into a friend's rooftop party, her smile glowing under the golden city lights. She had no idea that this night would change the course of her life forever. Across the crowded terrace, her eyes locked with his, Daniel. He carried himself with effortless confidence, his charm radiating through a smile that felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Their first conversation started casually, small talk over drinks. But within minutes, Sarah felt as if she'd known him all her life. Laughter flowed easily between them, and time seemed to bend, vanishing into the star-sprinkled night sky. When the evening ended, Daniel asked for her number. Sarah hesitated only for a moment before writing it down, her heart racing with equal parts excitement and fear. She walked away thinking, maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something real. In the weeks that followed, their connection grew stronger. The spark of that night ignited into a steady flame. Daniel would show up at her office with flowers, while Sarah would surprise him with his favorite meals. Together, they built a little world, one that felt safe, warm, and perfect. And in that world, there was someone else, Emily, Sarah's best friend since childhood. Emily had been her anchor through heartbreaks, her cheerleader through victories, and the sister she never had. Naturally, she became part of the love story too. Emily helped Daniel plan Sarah's birthday, laughed with them during late-night marathons, and stood by their side in every joyful moment. To Sarah, it felt like the universe had finally given her everything she had ever wanted. A man who loved her, a friend who cherished her, and a life that seemed unshakable. But perfection has a way of hiding cracks, and what Sarah couldn't see was the storm quietly gathering behind the smiles and laughter. Sometimes the very people you trust the most are the ones holding the sharpest knives. In the beginning, Sarah ignored the little things. A late-night text Daniel quickly hid, a smile on his face as he typed on his phone, as if he were in on a secret she wasn't part of. Emily, too, had started changing. She canceled their coffee dates, made excuses to skip their weekend walks, and always seemed to have somewhere else to be. Sarah brushed it off at first, convincing herself it was work stress or simple bad timing. But late at night, when she lay awake staring at the ceiling, doubt began to whisper in her ear. Why was Daniel suddenly unreachable so often? Why did Emily's excuses sound rehearsed? Trust is a beautiful thing, but it can also blind you. And Sarah, desperate to protect the life she had built, chose blindness over truth. The weeks dragged on and the distance grew heavier. Sarah felt it every time Daniel avoided her gaze, every time Emily dodged her questions. A pit formed in her stomach, heavy and unrelenting. One evening, Sarah invited Emily for dinner, hoping to reconnect. Emily declined, her voice tight and hurried. "I just have something important to do," she said. Sarah didn't push, but her heart sank. Later that night, she noticed Daniel's phone light up. She only caught a glimpse, a heart emoji, a message that wasn't hers. Her pulse quickened, denial wrestling with the truth. She wanted to confront him, but fear held her back. Instead, she told herself she was imagining things. Yet, deep down, her soul knew. The truth was waiting, lurking in the shadows, ready to shatter her. One night, Sarah decided to do something sweet. She baked Daniel's favorite dessert, a chocolate pie, and drove to his apartment without telling him. Her heart raced with excitement as she walked down the familiar hallway, balancing the dish in her hands. She imagined his smile when he saw her, the warmth of his hug, the joy of surprising him. But the moment she opened the door, her world collapsed. Daniel wasn't alone. There, on the couch, in a scene she would never erase from her memory, sat
Emily, her best friend. And they weren't just sitting, they were entangled, whispering the very words that once belonged only to Sarah. "I love you," Daniel breathed to Emily. The pie slipped from Sarah's hands, shattering into pieces on the floor. The crash echoed through the apartment, but the silence that followed was louder than any scream. Tears blurred her vision. Her chest tightened as she struggled to breathe. Daniel jumped up, stammering excuses. Emily turned away, unable to meet Sarah's eyes. It just happened," they said, their voices hollow, pathetic. But betrayal doesn't just happen. It is chosen, moment by moment. Every text, every secret, every lie. Sarah stood frozen, her entire body trembling. The two people she trusted most, the man she loved and the friend she cherished, had become strangers in an instant. With her heart in ruins, she turned and walked out into the night, her sobs swallowed by the city's cold air. The days that followed were a blur of pain. Sarah barely ate. She barely slept. The images of Daniel and Emily haunted her every time she closed her eyes. She replayed every laugh they'd shared, every hug, every whispered promise, now poisoned with deceit. She asked herself 1,000 questions. How long had it been going on? Did they ever truly love her? Had every smile been a mask? The silence from both of them was deafening. They didn't fight for her. They didn't explain. They simply vanished together, leaving Sarah to piece herself back from nothing. Nights were the hardest. The bed felt too big, too cold. She cried until she couldn't cry anymore. And yet, beneath the heartbreak, something unexpected began to grow. Strength. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, Sarah began to rebuild. She poured her energy into her work, into hobbies she had abandoned, into friendships that truly mattered. She discovered parts of herself she had forgotten: the girl who loved to paint, the woman who dreamed of traveling, the person who didn't need anyone else to complete her. The betrayal had scarred her, yes, but it hadn't destroyed her. Daniel and Emily had taken her trust, but they could not take her resilience. Sarah learned the most painful but most powerful lesson of her life. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who betray you, but sometimes that betrayal is the fire that forges you into someone stronger. And so she stood taller. She spoke louder. She smiled again, this time not because of someone else, but because of herself. Her story was no longer about betrayal. It was about survival, about rebirth, about a woman who was broken and then chose to rise. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, if you've ever felt the knife of deceit from the friend you trusted most, remember this: betrayal is not the end. It is the beginning of your strength. Because true love starts not with someone else, but with yourself.